Now we are recording and live on Facebook. Thank you very much. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Finance and General Purposes Committee. We have a couple of grants this evening, the usual financial reports, and then the draft budget, hopefully for which a town clerk will be joining us to present his report on that. Let's just go through the rubric. I think we can take as read. Please remember to switch your mobile phones off. And of course, we are being recorded and filmed and put out live on Facebook. Apologies for absence, please, Yola. First of all, I have to present the apologies for Councillor Foden, the Mayor, who's attending another meeting and will be with us when the other meeting permits, so aims to join later, along with the clerk, I believe. Any other apologies?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you very much. Never sure if we need to vote to note apologies or not. Agreements to the agenda between parts 1 and 2. We have no part 2. Declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest to declare this evening? Councillor Mary Lowther.
Yes, I declare an interest in item 6 on the agenda, as I am a trustee and officer of Timbridge District Council. No, East Timbridge Community Transport.
Okay, thank you very much.
Off to a good start.
Thank you very much. And I take it from that you will be standing away from that particular item and neither speaking nor voting.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I will be leaving the room.
Thank you very much. Which always seems slightly pointless when you can just watch it on Facebook, but I think it's sufficient to put yourself on mute and turn your video off as far as I'm concerned, but the clerk may say different. Councillor Linda Petherick.
I declare an interest as council rep, but I understand I can speak and vote.
That's how I believe it is to be as well, so thank you very much. That's council rep on community transport, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other declarations of interest? No, thank you very much. Dispensations, I presume we have none. None. Minutes. To approve and sign the minutes of the F&GP meeting for the 26th of November. Anybody have any issues with the minutes or anything to correct? No. Thank you very much. So I shall propose through the chair then that we approve those minutes. Can I see everybody in favour, please? That's unanimous there, I think, depending on the Deputy Mayor, whether she's deciding to vote for the minutes or not. Yes, okay, fantastic. So that's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Apologies for being late, Chair. I had a problem signing in. Quite
all right, quite all right. We all have such issues. I was even later for your meeting yesterday evening, so apologies are fine. Okay, so moving on then to large grant application. East Timbridge Dawlish Community Transport Association, which is a grant request for £5,000 for core costs. Valerie, would you like to speak to your application, in which case we can suspend standing orders and invite you to tell us a little bit about where community transport is this year and what's and how you're surviving the pandemic? I think that's a yes. So can I see a show of hands, please? To before I do that, Councillor Linda Petherick, you have your hand up. Do you wish to speak before? No, a show of hands to suspend standing orders then, please. Thank you very much. Standing orders are suspended. Val, the floor is yours. I'd like to unmute yourself.
Good.
You're still muted.
Is that right?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chairman, councillors, on behalf of us all at Dawlish Community Transport, I would like to share a little about the valuable community transport service that we offer. As a registered charity based here in Dawlish, We offer a range of services. We have a public service bus routes, one twice weekly, taking people from Dawlish, Warren, Cockwood and St Mary's Cottages to Sainsbury's, the Co-op in Dawlish, Barton Surgery and the hospital. Ring and Ride in normal circumstances operates 5 days a week, taking passengers door to door to Newton Abbot, Teignmouth, Exeter and the Willows, with the emphasis of individuals being able to do their essential daily tasks of shopping and banking. We also have, in normal circumstances, a tailored special outings day on a Tuesday each week, which encapsulates the beautiful places where we live and brings a social element for travellers who for some are very much alone and able to get out and about. We have taken over 1,900 passengers on Ring and Ride in the year to the end of March 2020. Very importantly, we have our volunteer-led community car scheme, which is funded by passenger contributions and fundraising. With changes to hospital transportation, the demand of this service has increased immensely over the last 18 months, and we continually struggle to keep up with the requests we receive for transport to health appointments, excuse me, hospitals, GP, dentists, opticians, physiotherapy, radiotherapy and well-being. Over 1,500 passengers carried in the year. Excuse me. Volunteers give up their time to support and there just aren't enough to go round. We have had over 2,700 driving hours in the year by volunteers. We offer accessible, affordable transport for those unable to use public transport for any reason, be it physical or for well-being, open to all age groups. We predominantly assist individuals who are of an older age or for lessened mobility and support many with disabilities and some complex for people living independently and those within the care services. We have a fully adapted range of small wheelchair accessible vehicles and minibuses. We promote increased mobility, social contact, inclusion and independence within our community. 1,300 passengers are registered with us. We are a small but active charity supported by our volunteers and staff team in a caring, calm and safe manner. Dawlish Community Transport has not been immune to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, but we have continued to play a crucial role to ensure people can access essential services. Community fundraising has been at a standstill since the onset of the pandemic, and as a summer trade small town, the impact has been devastating, and charitable donations have also been severely affected, preventing their financial support to us. Now, our minibus multiple passenger services, they're operational again during the second and the third lockdown, but we are heavily restricted by reduced numbers travelling for social distancing, resulting in a vast loss of income. For example, a 17-seater minibus is only able to seat 6 passengers, funds we are unable to recoup for the foreseeable future. Yet our objectives stand for the well-being of our community, and we would appreciate your help so we can continue to deliver. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank you and all those involved for continuing to run such a valuable service, which is even more essential in these times when people find it difficult to get out anyway. And having in my other roles done a few trips within the on the buses, I've seen what a valuable service you provide firsthand. Councillor Linda Petherick, are you wishing to ask questions at this stage, or is that a hand for later? I think that's a hand.
No, it's a hand to speak to the application.
Okay, perfect. Councillor John Petherick, are you wishing to ask questions, or is that a hand to speak later? Sorry, you're muted, but I think you said it's a hand to speak later, if I read correctly.
Yeah, I would like to speak later. I'm jumping the gun, apologies.
That's
over
quite
enthusiastic.
Right. Yeah. Quite all right. It's nice to see enthusiasm amongst councillors. That's fantastic. Councillor Val Moorhood, is that a hand to ask questions or a hand to speak later? A hand to ask questions. Please fire away. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Valerie, no one can question the work that you do, which I found out at your AGM. I found it a lot more than I knew before. Would I be right in saying that this year, I'm not talking about vehicle costs and replacements now, but your general running costs would have been somewhat less than last year so far? You're muted.
Sorry. Okay. Actually, no, because we have to keep our buses all up and running, regardless of the usage. Under the scheme that we run, they have to be not serviced, but checked every 10 weeks. And this is a very expensive exercise. And being as our fleet are older, every 10 weeks, that is quite an onerous thing to do, as well as obviously the normal checks and MOT services and things. And we have got an awful lot of running expenses just to keep our wheels turning.
Could I ask another question, please, Chair? At your last accounts, you had a fairly healthy unrestricted funds. Is that still reasonably comfortable?
At the end of the trading year, I think it was around 11,000, which really, when you think running month to month, that is pretty low. With all the expenses, staff costs, fuel, we are sort of teetering along.
And I'm glad to see that you have funds from all sorts of other sources. It's good that you get it from other councils and Rotary clubs and so forth. I just got one last question. Staff salaries are one of your biggest outgoings, apart from vehicles, obviously. I'm just wondering whether, I can't see in there that what it says this grant, if it's agreed, would be used for. Would it be used for staff salaries in any way?
It is for running costs. We have asked for running costs, not for a particular project, because it is keeping the wheels turning that is our most difficult thing.
I only ask because normally we don't usually grant money specifically for wages, that's all. But thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Terry Lowther.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, really just to point, not so much, well, this is a question in a sense. I'd like Valerie to just confirm some of the numbers in the report. And it links really to the question that Councillor Moorhood was asking. Because it looked from the report as though you did enormous mileage last year. You know, the cost of the transport business, if you like, obviously hasn't decreased at all. I mean, he says you did total passenger miles driven this financial year, 74,000 kilometres. So
yes, Councillor Lowther,
yeah.
The report you have in front of you is from the 1st of April 19 to the 31st of March 20. So really the pandemic had not took hold of us at that stage.
Okay, because it just struck me that was very high mileage, but of course you're still driving around the vehicles even though they're not full.
Exactly. You have the same overheads, even though we can
Yeah.
only carry like 6 passengers in a
Yeah.
minibus.
Yeah, so that really confirms your answer to Councillor Moore's question earlier.
Right.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowther. Any further questions for Valerie, or are we ready to resume the meeting and discuss the grant? I see no further questions, so can I see a show of hands to resume the meeting, please? Fantastic, thank you very much. And so standing orders are back in place. Councillor Linda Petherick, I think you had your hand up first and foremost.
Thank you, Chair. I did. As council rep, I see the struggles that community transport go through, and I see how much their income has dipped. But the demand in the pandemic is possibly increasing. Funding is next to impossible, and I can say that with confidence because I'm trying to help them with the funding, and we can apply to lots of people, which they do, and they are triers where funding is concerned, but they get quite a majority of them knocked back. So because most of the funding that we go for is for COVID at the moment, they need our support more than ever this year, as they are constantly struggling to survive. We need to help them to keep services going. I would urge colleagues to support this grant to help them get over the pandemic and try and get back to some sort of normality. The running costs, I'm picking up now on points that councillor questions. A lot of the running costs include vehicle maintenance. And I think if you ask, you'll find out that the vehicle maintenance is actually astronomical. Not only are they trying to fund running revenue costs, they're also trying to fund the cost of keeping the vehicles on the road. And on top of that, on top of all these different pressures that they've got, they've now come to the point where some of the vehicles actually need changing because the old vehicles are no longer fit for purpose. So they've got that added pressure as well. And they're looking at funding for that. They're trying to get funding for vehicles. So with all the pressures that community transport have got on them at this moment in time, I would urge colleagues to support them and give them this grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Then we have Councillor John Petherick and then Councillor Terry Lowther. Councillor John Petherick.
Thank you, Chairman. Community transport continues to provide an invaluable service to our community. Val has mentioned that they are experiencing difficult times, and yet they're diligently trying to carry on and deliver the best service that they possibly can to some of the most vulnerable people within our community. The grant application, the large application, is normally, the ceiling is normally £2,000, but as we say, this is for £5,000. I would like to propose that this application is approved, and I would like to propose that we grant this £5,000 to community transport. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Terry Lowther.
Yes, I agree that this is a valuable service that the community transport provide. It's an essential service as any other that I can think of, and I certainly would. I'd agree that we should approve this grant at £5,000. So I'm seconding the vote.
Thank you very much. Any further councillors wish to comment or question or say anything? Councillor Lynn Goodman Bradbury.
I've had involvement with community transport and other, obviously, other charities within the town. I think we've got to keep this service going, and I definitely think we need to approve this this grant to keep the wheels turning, as Valerie said. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And having seen it in action, I think it is such an invaluable service, and it makes a massive difference to people's lives. I think it's certainly something I will be supporting, that we keep and have in place for the town and our residents, because without it, their lives would be the poorer in certainly many cases. So I think we can move to a vote to approve the £5,000 grant. Can I see a show of hands for approval, please? I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Councillor Lowther, would you like to let Councillor Mary Lowther know that she can come back into the room?
I have, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Val, and thank you very much for the work that you and all the team do. And from my point of view, we're always very happy to support the community transport, and more power to your elbow. And thank you for all those people who are trustees and volunteers, and all the drivers, and the huge number of people who put a huge amount of effort into making it function.
Thank you, Chairman, very much for your support.
You're very welcome. Okay, so let's move on to item number 7, small grant application, Westcliff Primary Academy. Yola, do we have somebody in the waiting room to speak to this one?
Well, Rachel Cridge said she would be attending or trying to attend, and I did notice that she came in, we did let her in, and then she hastily exited. So I don't know whether she may just be wanting to watch it on Facebook, whether she is coming in. This is kind of a bit of a warning to her to let her know to come in if she wishes to, but she may not be able to. So there may be a technical issue, because she certainly came to the meeting and then disappeared.
Okay, I certainly noticed that she was here earlier. Okay, so whilst we wait to see if she joins, we have some hands up. So let's go, Councillor Linda Petherick.
Thank you. Shall we wait for Mary to come back in?
Yes, she's just coming back in now.
Okay, yes.
Oh, and just while we are waiting, I don't know whether Valerie's staying because she's very, very interested in the meeting, but she doesn't have to stay for the whole meeting if she doesn't wish to, just to let her know that.
Thank you very much. I will leave if you don't mind. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Councillor Mary Lowther is back. So Councillor Linda Petherick, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, I was happy to support this small grant. I'm seeing firsthand the struggling that children are having with homeschooling and the lack of technology for homeschooling. The first time round was bad enough, but the second time round, with 24-hour notice and all school children being told that they had to use Zoom while they were at home, and every other issue that comes with that, I could see the chaos that it has caused throughout the schools. These are extraordinary circumstances, and because they're funding part of the project themselves, I want to support this this grant. And in actual fact, it's only £250. If all the other schools in Dawlish came to us and said, we need support to get these laptops for our children, I would say, let's give them all the same amount of money, because these children, I've got one or two people that have been in touch with me. They are on the edge. They don't know what's going to happen to them. They're worried to death because they're not keeping up with the education that they should be getting. Some in year 6 are so worried that they're not going to be able to cope when they go to secondary school in September. So I think anything we can do to help and support the children in these schools for such a small amount, I think we should do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I was actually going to suggest an amendment to this grant, and I was going to suggest that we amend it to award them £510, which is the entirety of what they're asking for the tablets, because time is of the essence, and to actually make sure that they can do this right now and actually go ahead as soon as possible to get these tablets.
And I would second that proposal.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Val Moorhood, you're next on my list.
Thank you, Chair. I'm thinking much the same thing. In fact, you just stole my thunder. And even if the other schools did ask, we'd still, I think, be quite happy to consider that. We all know it's a very difficult situation. We're always, not always funded, but we do give a lot of support to charities and organisations which help the older people. And I am very much in favour of anything which helps the younger members of our community. And as we know, we do have families who have difficulties, and especially if they've got several children and they're struggling with one laptop or whatever in the house. I think it's, well, it doesn't bear any argument, does it? It's obvious. And I agree entirely with what you said, that we have the ability to increase it, and I think we should. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And I would go as far to suggest that if the other schools decided they needed such support as well to similar amounts, if they sent in such applications, we would call an emergency meeting to look at such grants. Thank you, Councillor. Next on my list, Councillor John Petherick.
Thank you, Chairman. It's all been said, really. I know that Councillor Linda Petherick referred to our grandson, and he's fortunate because he's got a laptop, but I know that there are other children in his class that don't have this equipment. Up until recently, I was a school governor at Star Cross, and there are great differences there between some children with the access that they had to this equipment at home. So I really am delighted that we've agreed that we will, you've suggested, and I was thinking of it anyway, that we grant the full sum of £510. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Terry Lowther.
Thank you. I just want to make a general observation, something I think we ought to keep in mind. While I'm in favour of the general flavour of what everything's being proposed so far, we do ask the people applying for the grant what else they're doing to raise any money. And I noticed that these people have said they're going to raise this via fundraising or other grants. Now, unfortunately, we don't have anybody here to tell us how much they have raised elsewhere. And we're in a sense, we're on very loose ground to offer any vote of a grant of any size, unless we know that it's really needed. You know, we aim to supply, to fill a need. We're not a charity, we can't afford to be. We're dealing out taxpayers' money. So we have to respond to requests that are genuinely based on need. We can only go so far as to say, well, they've said that they need £250. Now, I'm with you with the increasing it to the whole lot of the need. I'm not so much keen, to be honest, on offering it to all the other schools willy-nilly. This isn't the name of the game, you know. As I say, we respond to requests to refund to help with a need, and just to say, if anybody else wants to come and ask us, we'll definitely give them. I think is getting a little precarious. I'm not sure we're behaving very responsibly. I agree with you in principle, but I'm not very happy about the practice.
Thank you, Councillor. Just as a matter of correction, I did suggest that the other schools would be invited to attend and we would consider their applications. I didn't say, and I carefully didn't say, that we would put these funds their way, because we do need to look for need. But I also think that this is an unusual circumstance, and time is definitely of the essence. This is not something they could have planned for, and this is not something that they can afford to wait, because every week makes a difference, which is why I suggested what we did. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. May I just ask? Is it proper if I ask if Councillor Linda Petherick could give us any information on whether they've got any more funds from anywhere? Does she know or not?
Can I speak, Martin?
By all means, please.
I actually don't know, Terry.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I mean, originally I was happy to give the 250, but I understand where Martin's coming from. If they've got to start fundraising from now, then, you know, each day, each week that goes past means that that child is getting further back with their education. So maybe the question can be asked, have you actually got any funds towards it? And we make up the difference from what they have already fundraised. And then only if another school comes to us with the same application form and shows us the need, then we can look at that separately.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So next on my list is Councillor Carol Tamlin, and Councillor Mary Lowther, I see you waiting.
I support this. However, is there not a national campaign in asking people unwanted laptops or tablets to be brought in so they can be distributed? I mean, could they not tap into that? I mean, I don't know the details of it, but perhaps Linda Pedrick does. Thank you.
Perhaps can help with that, Councillor Tamlin.
Okay.
We've had such discussions at Teambridge. There are lots of people who wish to donate old laptops and iPads and bits and pieces. It makes a very difficult situation, because the reason why people get rid of an old laptop or tablet is because it's too slow or too old, or it doesn't run the right software, or it can't cope with Zoom or all the rest of it, which means you then end up with a ragbag taggle of old unsupportable IT equipment they're expecting some poor child to try to deal with. I've spent many an hour trying to make good use of an old second-hand laptop, and almost always failed miserably because it turns out to be too slow to be usable with the modern equipment. The sad reality is that there are much more cost-effective ways of achieving it, such as tablets like this or Chromebooks, which can be purchased new from £90 for a tablet through to £200 for a laptop Chromebook, that are much more useful for schools because they then work with the school systems. So whilst I understand people's desire to help, at this point they would be far better to donate the funds for the school to buy a new Chromebook or a reconditioned Chromebook, which is within their capabilities of supporting, and it runs all the right software that the school needs and the child needs to interact with the school. Sorry, it's my IT background coming out again.
Thank you, Chair. I would support this application then.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Val Moorhood, have you spoken already on this one?
I have, so has John, so we'll toss, if you like, for who goes first.
In which case it's Councillor Mary Lowther first, and then Councillor Val Moorhood.
I might have to be careful. I don't suppose I really should name, but I do know that they have received a few £100 from a notable person. Yeah,
well,
which covers maybe five or six.
Thank you very much.
So that's just, you know, just that, and that is the only, you know, the only one I have heard of, but there may be more. But I'm sure if we ask, they can, you know, they can tell us. And if they do need, as you say, the 500 and something pounds, I'm quite happy to support that. So
if I may change the proposal then in lines of what Councillor Terry Lowther and Linda Petherick was saying, Councillor Linda Petherick was saying earlier, that we offer them the total amount less what they've already raised in funds. I think that is, will that be satisfactory? I think
Yes,
so.
I'm happy with that.
Okay, Councillor
I'm
Val.
sorry, the total, may I just ask the total amount being?
The total amount they're asking for is £510.
No, the total amount they're asking for is
250.
Oh, they were asking for 250. The total amount they were seeking to raise,
yeah,
510. Sorry, thank you. Yes, yeah. Councillor Val Moorhood.
Thank you, Chair. I I can see this is quite a complicated situation. They're not a charity, and they are, in a way, well, mainly nationally funded. I think we have to take at face value what it says in this application, in that they're talking of they needing to buy 6 tablets. We don't know how many more they've already bought and raised funds for. And talking of raising funds, other than over the internet or GoFundMe or whatever, they're going to have great difficulty this year. And I agree with what was said right at the beginning. This is a matter of time. Time is of the essence. These children are suffering, they're education-wise, and we need, if we can, and I don't see why in this exceptional circumstances that we're in, that we cannot go ahead and approve this. And I would approve the original or a proposal to offer 510 or 500, if you like, because it is just so important. These are our children, our future. And this is an exceptional circumstance. There are caveats, yes, as Councillor Terry Lowther raised, and some I've mentioned, I think others have got in mind. But really, isn't this a one-off? Isn't this a special occasion and an essential and special need?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor John Petherick.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, I would like to say that I do very much agree with Councillor Terry Lowther's comments. But looking closely at the application, there are roughly 360 pupils at the school at the moment, of which 1/3 are disadvantaged. And I do that in the maths. There are 120 are disadvantaged children at Westcliff School. They're asking for 6 devices. If they've already got 2 or 3 and they've raised money for another 2 or 3, I mean, these devices cost £80 each, and they could make a tremendous difference to a child's education. And I think it might be sensible also for them to have a few in reserve, so that if the device does actually fail, you know, a child's own personal device does fail, then they can have something in reserve. I know that home learning, and I've seen it myself, is very, very difficult at the moment. And I think the more devices that we can let them have, the better. So I would hope really that without question that we could just go back to our original proposal and allocate them £510. Thank you.
I would second that.
Okay. I'm just trying to remember if the first proposal, I don't think we've now got 2, or if not 3.
I don't think we changed the first proposal, Councillor Wrigley. I think the first proposal that you made and I seconded still stands.
I think
we
you're
didn't
right,
change it.
because that was second. Clark, Yola, yes, please.
Yeah, I would confirm that. I think Councillor Linda Petherick first of all said about she was happy to support the original amount, but didn't actually make a proposal. I think the first proposal was for the 510, and then it was seconded.
So that by the rules, that is the one that we vote on, and if that fails, then we go to consider other proposals in the case. Councillor Terry Lowther, you still have your hand up. Is that a hangover? Is that a hangover from previous questions?
Oh, well, it might be a hangover, but I'd just like to confirm my original discomfiture about the procedure. In fact, if we're going to go for this vote, I don't think I can bring myself to vote. I'm not going to, certainly won't vote against it, because I agree with the principle. But I'm not happy with the practice, so I shall want to restrain.
I think in normal times I would absolutely agree with you, but because this is such such extraordinary times, and this is a thing, in my view, absolutely where time is of the essence, and it is important that we get as many devices to as many children to get them learning as possible. I think I would be happy to waive those normal rules that we follow for this case, but I would agree with you, it shouldn't set a precedent in future in any way, shape or form. Councillor Lynn GB.
Can I just clarify this? The proposal we've got that you proposed and Councillor Linda Petherick seconded made no mention, I believe, and you, please, that's why I'm asking the question, that if they've already got the money, that we don't subtract that from the amount they award. So we're just giving them the total amount that's on the actual form that they're wanting, so £510, is that right?
That was,
because I think subsequently someone didn't. Yeah,
that was my original suggestion.
Because I'm just trying to clarify, because
Yep. So the original.
yeah, sorry, the internet's bouncing a bit. Sorry. So subsequently.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, the internet keeps pausing everybody and me. Subsequently, it was mentioned that it was that amount, £510, with the amounts that they've already raised subtracted from it. I'm just trying to get clarity because I'm getting a bit confused as to what the actual proposal is we're going to vote on at this point.
Entirely reasonable. I was myself confused. So the proposal that was put, that was right at the beginning, was that we grant them the full £510 to be spent on getting devices for children in the school that need them, as the request is, with no questions about what they've already raised. And I think Councillor John Petherick's subsequent comments about anything already raised will undoubtedly be used to get more devices for other children. I think that actually makes it valid. So that is the proposal that we're at, that we give them the full 510 without questioning what they've already raised, and that we subsidise the devices entirely as much as we can to that amount. And that was seconded by Councillor Linda Petherick, and that's the one that we have on the table in front of us.
Okay, thank you for the clarity.
My pleasure. And just one hint, as I discovered the other evening, if everybody else on the screen freezes, that means you froze and not them. So it typically is a precursor to finding yourself looking at a blank screen. Okay, are we all clear what we're voting on here? Can I see hands in approval of granting the full 510 without taking into consideration anything they've already raised? Okay, and that's Councillor Terry Lowther, I presume you're abstaining? Okay, so it's all bar one abstention, so that's carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Yola, I presume you'll be talking with them shortly so they can go ahead with that, and we can expedite that because time is of the essence.
I've deliberately not done the payments that I would normally do on a Thursday, held them back for Friday, so any grants issued today could be done on the backs run tomorrow.
Thank you very much indeed. Fantastic. Okay, so we move on. Invoices for payments, direct debits, and income. We get to the interesting bits. So we start off on page 53 in the 53. It's 53 in your agenda, entitled Dawlish Town Council Cashbook 1, Lloyd's current account. It says, excuse me, page 96. Just for confusion, but it is page 53 in the agenda pack, if that's what you have in front of you. Does everybody have the bits and pieces in front of them? Has Carol Tamlin disappeared? Okay, I think we progress anyhow. Okay, so we're looking at receipts for month 8. Sorry, receipts for month 8. And starting off with MH Hire. Do you have any questions on this first page? I see no hands. Excellent. Okay, and do feel free to shout out if I don't see your hand, because obviously I'm also looking at 2 screens, so I apologize if I don't see your hand immediately. Moving on then to the next page, page 54 in your pack. Start headed up with what's the first thing on the top here? AA banked 16th of the 11th 2020, £64.80. Anything down on this page? Any questions on page 54? Page 55 just has a single total receipts for the month. Okay, so we'll move on to page 56. Lloyd's current account, cash book 1 still for month 8. First item, 2nd of November, Southwest Water. Any questions on this page? No. Okay. Moving on. Moving on to page 57. Headed first item, 23rd of November, Vodafone. Staff mobiles. Mole Valley Farmers for waterfowl supplies. Any questions on this page? Nope, everybody following where we are, fine, good, okay. So that's page 57. Page 58 is intentionally blank. Page 59, we move on to the NatWest 1 card, where we simply have one payment on it. Okay, moving on. Page 60, NatWest 1 card, where we see the payments out on the 1 card. Nice to see the use of eBay for making sure we get good value on electronics bits and pieces. Any questions on this one, including the lights for the waterfowl compound? Nope. Move on then to page 61. I like this, unless everyone's been muted. It's good. No questions on this so far. Which is cash book, Lloyd's current account, receipts for month 9, headed banked 1st of December 2020. Any questions on this sheet? There is one I had here. There's a return of overpayment halfway down that. Can you just let us know what happened with that one, please, Yola?
Yes, that was for one of the volunteer shoppers for Helping Dawlish. They submitted 2 claims, but it looked like they'd 2 lots were added together, but actually it was supposed to be separate. So we overpaid them and they paid us back.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay.
I had just a question, a very simple one. Could you just tell me what Stripe is?
Yes, Stripe is our new equivalent to PayPal. It's a bit more user-friendly and works with our new website. So anything that you see as Stripe is generally a donation, either for Helping Dawlish, waterfowl, Mayor's Charities, that kind of thing, but it does get broken down into the codes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's page 61 completed, unless there's any further questions on that page. Nope. Okay, page 62, headed, starting off with banked 18th of December 20. It's good to see more Helping Dawlish donations coming in. That's it does make me so proud of this town, see how well it's supported Helping Dawlish. I think it's fantastic. And we start to see allotment payments coming in. Any questions on this page? Nope. Coming down to the next page, 63, I think, which has just got a Stripe payment on it, an allotment payment on it. All happy with that. Moving on to page 64, payments for month 9. Starts off with 1st of December, Southwest Water. Can I ask what Rolly is?
He's an electrician.
Okay.
Rowley, I think it is. I think it's Roland is his name.
Ah, there we go. Thank you very much. Any other questions on this one? Nope.
Modern Gov acceptance stroke go live. Could you just explain that? It's in and then it's out again.
Oh, I think that's because it's feeding down from the reserve. So the original amount that was approved for the installation and go live of Modern Gov was one large amount, but they've billed us in 2 steps. So this is the second step. So it was allocated in the reserve last year.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on. So, okay. Anything else on this page? Nope. Moving on to page 65, which is half a page that starts on the 21st of the 12th, Churchill Service Solutions. It's quite interesting. We still have to have the offices checked for Legionella, even though we have nobody in the offices, but you've got to keep these things current. That would be ironic, wouldn't it? Coming back from a pandemic to then catch Legionella in your office, that would be horrible. Okay, I shouldn't joke about such things. Did we just lose somebody, or did somebody come in? Or was that something? Here we are. Here's Dawlish Town Council. This will be Andrew coming in. That was the noise. Fantastic. Welcome, Andrew. And so we are now on page 65. Any questions on this one? Nope. Okay, moving on down. Page 66 is blank. Page 67 is the one card. It's the payment for month 9, which is December. There'll be Councillor Foden joining as well. Okay, that's page 67. Any questions there? No. Page 68, the one card for December, starting with 26th the 11th, Solar Together. Solar Together is the Team Bridge wide solar energy installation scheme, and that 150 is a deposit that you put down to get them to come and look at the plan in more details. Any questions on that one? Nope, I see nobody waving or saying anything. Good. So it's page 68, page 69. How many more pages are there, Yola? Can't be many.
That's it for that.
That's it, is it?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So are we happy with those? Any questions on those in totality? Can I see a show of hands to approve those, please? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Okay. So the next thing is, where are we at? The next thing?
Bank reconciliations.
Reconciliations.
Which is Councillor Petherick.
Councillor Petherick. Councillor Petherick, I believe you've had a look at the reconciliations, and do they all reconcile?
Yes, they do, and Chairman. I've checked thoroughly, and I'm in full agreement that they reconcile. Yes.
Fantastic, thank you, and once again, thank you for taking on that task and continuing to do that, because it did cause us no end of confusion when we were trying to do it in the meetings. Can we see a show of hands, please, to accept the reconciliations? Thank you very much indeed. So that is now takes us on to item number 10, financial report Q3, where we go back to page 71 to 76. So this is the further details we're looking at. Starts with cost centre report and total staff costs. Everybody got the right page we're looking at?
Page
71.
71 starts with Little Week Play Area.
Oh, okay, yes, so I'm looking at page 69, in which case, Yola, we haven't looked at page 69. What's happening here? Should we have finished those earlier?
Which is Little Week play area on which?
71.
Oh, hang on, because what number is in the corner generated from the actual account system?
Month number 9, page 3 is on 71.
If I can move you back to page 69, please, which is headed agenda item 10. I think that's where we need to start, which is the cost centre report, a detailed income and expenditure by budget heading 31st of 12th 20. So I think it should be page 69 in the appendix rather than 71, Yola, if you.
So this is, sorry, and because I'm actually going from the reports printed out that aren't on Modern Gov, so I'm just wondering whether some pages are not on there. So we should be, this is the detailed income and expenditure by budget heading is what you should be on now, correct? For
starts with staff.
Yes, that's the one.
Which is on page
68
in the bundle.
Page 68.
Yes.
No, 69.
69, and at the very top right hand corner you see it says agenda item 10.
10.
Page 68 in my list is the last one of the cash book NatWest One card.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever the page number you see in front of you, Councillor Tamlin, so long as it starts with month number 9 cost centre report, and the next line in the body of the report says staff and talks about total staff costs. That's where we need to be. Fantastic. Whatever the page number is. Brilliant. Thank you very much. This causes a lot of confusion when we're all in the same place in the office, let alone trying to do it virtually. So my congratulations to everybody for navigating through these reports, which are all very.
If there's an issue on the numbering on the agenda, obviously we can look into that, because I see what you're saying now, that on the agenda it says page 71, but I'm guessing that's not what it's labelled as and what you're looking at.
Correct. It's 2 pages earlier. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Staff costs. Are we happy with those?
Yep.
Administration office. Any questions on page 69?
Nope.
Nope. Let's move on then. Page 70 that starts outside services. We all happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Goes down to finishing on the War Memorial Garden, then page 71 that is starts Little Week play area. Okay, moving down, skate park allotments, CCTV, the Manor House. Okay. Then moving on down to the next page, 72. He says scanning for anybody putting their hands up or waving. See no one. Page 72 moves on through the Manor House into the Riverside, then the council as public body. Okay, no questions or comments there. Page 73, which starts memberships, councillor training. Councillor travel to this year I see is 0, which is kind of as I would expect. Okay.
Just try to catch up.
Sorry. So this is on page 73 we're currently looking at.
Yeah, I'm just working my way down. There's rather a lot in them.
There's a lot in these, I'm afraid. Yes, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Everybody ready to move forward?
Yep.
Yep, okay. So we move on to events committee. Investing in Dawlish. And then on page 74, we have the grand totals. Okay.
Okay.
And then that's it. Are we happy with those?
Yep.
Questions or comments from the chair? Can I propose that we note or accept those? Do we need to note them or accept them? Note them, I would imagine. Approve them. Can I see a show of hands, please, to approve these accounts? Thank you very much. That's unanimous.
And I would just comment that they are so easily readable and understood. And thank you for that.
Oh, they are a vast improvement from where we were before Yola started tidying it all up. Absolutely. So yes, it's clear there's been a lot of hard work in getting this all into order, as we saw from the internal external auditors account recently. Thank you for that. Okay, so we now come on to item number 11, the reserves policy. Andrew, I'm glad you're here. I did question earlier before the meeting began. The reserves policy looks to me to be pretty much what we're doing already. Is this report here simply to formalise our current practices, or are there any significant changes?
No, it's thank you, Chairman. It is just to formalise what we're currently doing. The Joint Practitioners Accountability Guide was updated in March last year, which now requires local councils to have a reserves policy for next year's audit. So it's just getting that in place, ready for then.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions on this item? Councillor Moorhood. You're on mute, Councillor Moorhood. I'm afraid you're still, that's it.
That's all right. Just checking that we are within the 3 to 6 months for the proposed budget for next year.
Yes, we are. We, in the budget working group looked at that very carefully, and that was certainly one of the considerations that we had. And yes, we are in that place. Thank you very much, Councillor Terry Lowther.
Well, looking through the policy, that looks very much like what we're doing now. So I'd propose that we accept them.
Thank you very much, and I'll happily second that. Any other comments on the document? No, in which case, can I see a show of hands, please, to accept the document as it stands? Councillor Lowther, do you have your hand?
Oh, it's up. There we are. I have another hand.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, it disappeared into your background. I think that's unanimous there. Thank you very much, and thank you, Town Clerk, for putting together that proposal and bring it in front of us to make sure we are ready for next year's audit. It's always good to be prepared. Which brings us on to our final item of the evening, item number 12, the draft budget and precept proposals for 21-22. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of those members who helped in the budget subcommittee. I think we met on a number of times. We went through fairly thoroughly lots of different things, bringing into our discussions the requests from the various other committees and the needs as we see of the town going forward. It is difficult times to try to work out what the budget is going to look like. So I thank everybody who spent quite a lot of time going through that in quite a lot of detail to come up with the proposals that we have on the table today. We are facing lockdown for however long this lockdown goes and whatever the restrictions are after it. So we have had to make some judgments as to what the year is going to look like in terms of being able to gain our revenue from renting the manor for events and exercise classes and all these other things that may or may not be restricted at any given point in time. But we have some working presumptions that we have built into the budget. Andrew, do you have something that you'd like to talk about to introduce this? Because I know at full council you'll be putting this forward with a report. Do you have some words that you'd like to go through before we go any further?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I will have a report going out tomorrow. It sort of depends what the outcome of this meeting is in case there are any last minute changes that need to be included. But yes, so we're looking at an average over the last 4 years of an increase of 3.72%, which isn't too far off the principal authority's limit of 2% or £5. That equates for next year's budget to an increase of just 1.5p per day, and a lot of clerks use the phrase, how many loaves of bread could you buy for that? Well, it's not very much at all. So you know, it is an increase, and I think the budget subcommittee acknowledged that, but it's not as bad as it could have been. In terms of income, obviously our main streams of income are from the Manor House and Riverside, and together they are down this year virtually identical to what the income was last year, which is 88% down as at the 31st of December, whereas last year we were at about 88% of what we had budgeted for in terms of our annual income. So it's almost a direct reversal this year. And obviously going forward, lockdown is going to be reviewed, I believe, by the Prime Minister in mid-February. I understand either Wales or Scotland are now saying it won't be until March. And I think someone has just said earlier this evening that they don't even know if it's going to be until spring. So we could still be in lockdown, which is obviously going to have another knock-on effect on our budgets, which is why going forward, the budget subcommittee prudently felt that income might be only 50% of what we would expect for the first half of the financial year. So at least if we're over and above that, then that's great news. But obviously, although the vaccines are rolling out, the impact of that isn't going to be realised until much later in the year, possibly into next year. So, you know, at the moment, it really is how long is a piece of string. But our reserves are healthy, as we've just talked about in the previous item. We've got earmarked reserves identified for projects, and if it ever did get bad enough that we needed to dip in anywhere, we have got the funds at the moment. So yeah, hopefully. Oh, and one thing I did want to mention is, obviously, I don't know if anybody's aware that the High Court made a decision about using business interruption insurance, whereas previously councils weren't eligible to do that, or not just councils, many organisations. They've now ruled that you can. And I've just come from a Teambridge budget meeting with the mayor, where I raised this to ask whether Teambridge were looking to do this, and they are going to be submitting a claim. So it is something we will be looking at PDQ to see if we've got any chance of recouping some of the monies we lost because of COVID. So that again may come in favourably if it's accepted. We don't know at this stage, but it's worth a try.
Thank you very much. And just to remind people, of course, the financial year starts at the beginning of April. So that means we've been prudent in terms of thinking that our income from rental and using the space is not really going to come back up to speed until essentially the autumn. If it does come before then, fantastic. If not, we are ready for it. What I would like to say is that although the clerk introduced this as an increase, you'll actually see that the overall budget for the council has decreased marginally. So it is in fact a decrease. What it is, confusingly, is an increase in the precept. This is because there is a presumption that we are expected to use that our precept base will shrink, because if there is a high level of unemployment, it is Teambridge's policy that was voted through that anybody who then becomes in need, roughly if they're unemployed and fall on universal credit, they will not have to pay council tax. So they get a council tax relief of 100%. So whilst it's great that Teambridge says that, that has a kick-on effect for all the other authorities as well, including ourselves. So for that reason, and using Teambridge's estimates, that's why the precept goes up a little bit, whilst the overall budget has gone down a little bit. I know it seems counterintuitive. Councillor Terry Lowther.
It was an observation really following on from the clerk's remarks about interruption insurance. I'm pretty sure that the Supreme Court also instructed insurance companies that they should look favourably on claims. Is that right?
Yes. Sorry, I think is that a question for myself?
Yes.
Yes, I believe that is the case. So I think it's quite important that we try our hand with that.
Yeah, we should get a bit back then.
Councillor Moorhood.
Thank you, Chair. Just a general sort of observation, adding to what you said, really. It has been difficult to guesstimate, if you like, a lot of the income for the next year, and bearing in mind that some people will be in real financial difficulties. But as it happens, I think it was alluded to at one meeting that there are more houses, so that's buffered something, although we may not actually get the usual income from them because people are out of work or they're getting rates relief or whatever. It has been very complicated, but I think that we did a jolly good job one way or another. We'll just have to cross our fingers that we guessed right. Well, not guessed, but that we made the right decisions, the right estimates.
Thank you. Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chairman. It's just on the back of Councillor Moorhead's comments there. So basically last year, the council tax base, which is the number of properties that we can apportion a charge to, decreased by 128.9, don't know where they get the point from, to this year of 5,684.2. Whilst there may be more houses in the parish that have been built, some of those or existing properties will obviously be receiving more council tax support. Yeah. They may not be meeting their full council tax obligations. They could be empty due to various reasons and also have exemptions to not pay all or part of their council tax liabilities, where someone may be in a care home or hospital long term. Teambridge have actually confirmed that this is something they've never seen before, but it is being reflected in other principal authorities across the country. And so that's why you've got this discrepancy of, although you may have more houses, you've actually got less income coming in, but it's because of various personal circumstances that are being found, in our community.
Right. Sad times.
Thank you very much. Any comments or thoughts? To what level of detail? I mean, I presume you've all had a chance to look through the budget. I wouldn't propose that we go through it necessarily page by page, having gone through all those other sheets page by page, unless councillors wish to. Yola.
I don't really want to obviously add anything too much because I know there is a report coming, and I know obviously various bits are covered, but just to draw attention, if it hadn't been noticed already, that we do have a new code for rural skip hire, which I'm sure everybody noticed as they went through. And just something else just worth noting with the reserves, any large amounts added to existing earmarked reserves for large projects have obviously been taken out of the general reserve rather than being precepted for. That was something councillors were very careful to do in the budget setting process, obviously in this time.
So, okay, any councillors wish to say anything? We have within this budget allowed for such things as taking on the Brook Lights, which I think has proved critical this year. We've allowed for monies for the play park project. We've allowed for monies for various other projects coming through CAC. And we have monies that have come into the budget also from community infrastructure levy, which again comes in for all of the new houses that have been built. So there are funds dedicated to projects going forward. Oh, and CCTV is the other big one. We need a revision in the next year of our CCTV system, which I think is underway. And also there's still the funds in here for the climate change mitigation projects and for all the other things that we have currently going forward. So we haven't cut any of the projects, but we have been prudent around all the other spending where we can be. So anything else from anybody, in which case I would like to propose that we approve this budget to go forward to full council, and put my thanks to all of those people who worked on the who joined me on the budget working group.
I would like to second that, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Can I see a show of hands, please, to approve this budget? That's unanimous. Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. And I think that brings us to the end of the meeting. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Yola, for all your hard work on putting all this together as usual, and for all your work in putting together the budget. and keeping us on a sound running ship.
Most welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you.
Meeting closed.
Mhm.